to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, we have few minutes to answer your questions. Either you may write your questions or raise your finger. Brian, my friend, will read the questions for me.
Okay. Bhante, the first question is, please explain craving for non-existence in more detail. I've seen it translated as craving for self-annihilation as well. Is the issue the focus on the self, which is itself a delusion? Isn't wanting to get out of samsara to attain nibbana for ourselves and others a wholesome desire for non-existence? Thank you.
Okay, wholesome desire will become a realization when you attain liberation or attain nibbana. Then even wholesome desire is no longer be there, because you had wholesome desire to attain that liberation. Once you attain it, it is completely finished, end. But if somebody has a wish to end the existence of samsara, saying that this life is enough, I had suffered enough in samsara, I don't want any more birth, any more life, and so forth, or out of frustration, without understanding the truth, without understanding how to liberate oneself. If somebody simply says that I want to end samsara, end my life, that is not going to work. However, that is one's desire. One may desire that I have suffered enough, I don't want any more. And this is the only life. This is the materialistic views. Very strong materialists think this is the only life we have. We never had one before, never will have in future. This is the end of it. All the talk, teaching, practice for attaining liberation is completely wrong. All misunderstand, confusion, and therefore we are born and we die. That's it. We don't want anymore, no is there anymore. So this kind of very strong, nihilistic, deterministic, materialistic desire is called desire for annihilation. If one says desire for annihilation, annihilating self, that also is completely wrong, because in the first place there must be a self to annihilate. If you don't have one, how can you annihilate something that doesn't exist? And therefore some people think there is a kind of self, very subtle, and they also say that Buddha denied the existence of self, and they are completely misguided, misunderstood the Dhamma, and confused, and therefore they can try to propagate their own personal views and personal desire to have a self. But therefore, saying that desire for annihilation of self itself is misunderstanding, it is a contradictory, confused statement. And therefore, in the first place, we must understand the difference between the desire for annihilation and desire for non-existence of self and so forth. And this is why it is called a desire, unwholesome desire, which can, we've just read yesterday that somebody subject to birth, wish may never birth come to me. And Buddha said, this is not getting what one wants. What one wants is not to have any birth. That is, one does not want to have. But so long as desire and ignorance exist, another existence is possible. So, when there is such a possibility, if one were to wish that may there not be any more birth, that also is another desire, unwholesome desire. Okay, next question.
Thank you, Bhante. Next question. I have heard that to gain enlightenment, not all of the Arahants got the first knowledge of rebirth or the second knowledge of Kama, but they all got the third knowledge of how to destroy the taints. May I know how this is correct and why it is so?
Could you read the question once again?
Yes, Bhante. This person is stating that she has heard that all Arahants got the first knowledge of rebirth and the second knowledge of Kama, but they did not all get the first knowledge of rebirth or the second knowledge of Kama, but they all got the third knowledge of how to destroy the taints. How is that possible?
I think it's wrong propaganda, I must say. All those who attain even the stream entry have understood what the karma and rebirths are. They don't wait until the attainment of arahanthood to understand these two. But they, even at the very beginning, if somebody reads Attaka Nagara Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Attaka Nagara, Atthaka Nagara Sutta, of course that was explained by Venerable Ananda. In that discourse you can see how one at the very beginning understands the rebirth and karma. His understanding of, as we mentioned several times, in the Noble Eightfold Path, right understanding, right effort, and right mindfulness. These three factors of the Noble Eightfold Path are very important factors. Everyone who attains even the first level of enlightenment must have right understanding, right effort, and right mindfulness, which includes the wrong karma as wrong karma, right karma as right karma, as Sammaditthi Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 9, Venerable Sariputta explained very clearly. So the one who attains even the first level of enlightenment has the knowledge of karma, what is good karma, what is bad karma, and knowledge of birth and so forth are all given in that discourse. So it is not correct to say that one who attains the stream into a first level does not have or does not need and so forth is not right, not correct. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. Next question.
Yeah.
When you say impermanence is everything, does that mean nirvana is also an impermanent thing?
That also is a good question. We say everything. Thing refers to things that exist in samsara, that comes into existence. Nibbana is not a thing. And therefore, the question of impermanence does not apply to Nibbana. That's very simple. Everything must be everything is impermanent, and one must understand that everything is impermanent to liberate oneself from impermanent things and attain Nibbana or eternal or permanent peace, where there is no anything to become or be impermanent. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. That was very clear and very direct.
Yeah.
Next question. As I meditate and attend Dhamma talks, I find myself craving more peace from meditation and insight from the talks. How does one deal with this type of craving?
Yes, that is a kind of craving. If you have a craving for Dhamma, that is called Dhamma Tanha. Dhamma Tanha is one of the places out of 60 places where Tanha or craving arises. So, if that craving, that Tanha, that craving is only to get rid of your craving by listening to Dhamma, learning Dhamma, practicing Dhamma, you always keep thinking, how to get rid of my craving? How to get rid of my craving? You have an urge, you have a very earnest wish to get rid of your craving. That is a wholesome craving. I call it wholesome tanha, wholesome desire. That is wholesome in itself. So that is not wrong, because your wish, your desire is to get rid of your desire. And therefore that is a wholesome desire. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. Next question. This person wrote, Majje Sutta. According to this sutta, one should not attach to the past or the future. Be in the present, not attaching to that even. How do we do that in meditation, Bhante?
You can do it without becoming attached to even the present moment, because present moment also is a fleeting moment, not existing moment. Moment arises and then passes away. Again moment arises and passing. Another moment arises and passes away. Another moment arises. You cannot desire, you cannot cling, you have no way to control it. You just become aware of it. And therefore, you can see that there is no really any chance any moment for anybody to become cling to anything. It is just mere wish to cling. You cannot do that because moments are fleeting, changing, passing, appearing, disappearing, all volatile. So you cannot cling to that. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. That also was very clear. Next question. It is said not to associate with the foolish, but we encounter many people with wrong views in our life, and many of such people we are very close to. In such circumstances where we encounter wise people very rarely, how do we go about this? How do we apply this practically?
I think that also is a good practical question. Yes, we have, as Venerable Sanjaya said to Sariputta Upatisha, Sanjaya asked Upatisha, who is known as Sariputta. Sanjaya asked, are in the world more fools than the wise? Sariputta Upatisha said, yes, there are more fools than the wise, more fool. That is true. How can you know the fool is always doing something to hurt himself and to hurt others, to irritate himself, to irritate others, and so forth. That person does not think of doing something wholesome to himself and others. It can be that person's thoughts, words, or deeds. And therefore, among people we associate with, some people don't know how to do something wholesome. If you can tell that person the way to do wholesome things, and if he accepts it and follow your advice, that person is not utter fools. He is wise. And Buddha said, only if fool thinks that he is a wise person, for that reason he is foolish. If the foolish person thinks that he is wise, for that reason he is foolish. If the foolish person thinks that he is foolish, for that reason he is wise. So the fools and foolishness and wise is in that case relative. There is no a person always foolish. But in our life we come across people who never want to listen to anybody. They simply keep doing wrong things again and again and again and again. And these are the people we must not associate with. And even out of utmost compassion, you try to teach them, try to change their way of wrongdoing. The person will never ever accept. It is better not to associate with such a person. Unfortunately, such a person may be your wife, your husband, your mother or brother and sister and so on, very close relative, and still you should not keep your utmost confidence in them, because they are not going to change. So don't associate with them, but maintain your metta, your compassion, your understanding, and so on towards that person. And if that person is, you cannot completely avoid that person, some people you have to live with. And at the same time, try to understand that person's mentality and with patience, compassion, and wisdom associate. The foolish don't to associate with the fool is a very wonderful advice. At the same time, there can be such exceptions. Unfortunately, that is our life is. So Buddha would not ask us not to have such an association with exceptional situation. So that we must keep in mind. Like you have a son or daughter, brother or sister. That person has no place to go, no education, no money, cannot decide things for himself or herself. So doing all foolish things with utmost patience, as Kakachupama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Buddha said, we have to have endless patience with such a people, patience, compassion, wisdom to live with them, even though it is extremely difficult. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. I think we have enough time for this last question.
Yeah.
Dear Bhante, how does one overcome the second noble truth of delighting here and delighting there? Should we intentionally tell or force the mind not to seek out fun and excitement? Or is the second noble truth something for the mind to deeply realize and relinquish delighting here and delighting there on its own?
Well, second noble truth is a desire. It doesn't go by itself. We have to make effort. Make effort with understanding. We don't make effort to get rid of it immediately at once, in one stroke. We cannot do that. We have to train our mind. That is why the Buddha said, Anupubba Sikha, Anupubba Kiriya, Anupubba Patipada. Gradual training, gradual activities, again and again, and gradual practice. Gradual training, Anupubba Sikha. Sikha means training. Anupubba Kiriya means we put the craving in the Sikha, the precept, into practice slowly every day. And then Anupubba Patipada, then you fall into that stream of correct things to do. You put yourself into that. That means to getting rid of your desire. Put into practice slowly and gradually. But before that, we have to train our mind through understanding Dhamma, through meditation, associating with Kalyana Mitra, good friends, and Dhamma discussions, and reflection on the Dhamma. And all these things we do and prepare the mind to then to let go of that. It happens. It happens when you do the preceding things. The desire will eventually leave the mind. So we have to train the mind for that. But it doesn't happen automatically. I think that may be the last question and answer. And I'm happy that you asked me these very good questions. Asking questions is very important for us to develop our enlightenment factor of investigation of Dhamma. So keep trying to practice that by asking more and more questions, and continue our Dhamma discussion. Okay? Now I want to end this session and share merits once again with all those who are suffering in hospitals, not only with COVID-19, but any other sickness. May they be relieved from that pain and suffering and return to normal life, continue their Dhamma practice. And those very compassionate, dedicated doctors, nurses, hospital staffs that who are taking care of these patients, they risk their own health, their own life, and they sacrifice out of compassion and dedication. May they continue their very noble, wonderful humanitarian service and never get infected, and then live in very good health to continue their service. And those who suffer the deceased relatives and friends, I hope they will understand Dhamma and overcome their own grief to continue their regular normal life and practice Dhamma and liberate themselves from samsara. And those leaders who have taken initiative and encouraged people to take all precautions to prevent this virus affecting them, spreading it, and they are wonderful, far-sighted, compassionate leaders. Let them continue their service, and we want to wish them peace, happiness, and long life for their to continue their noble service. And there are some others who have invented this vaccine, especially during this pandemic period, and they have done wonderful service, and I hope all people will be vaccinated soon and end this pandemic completely from earth. So we want to wish them also peace, happiness, and liberation from samsara. And others, financially supported, also continue their very generous thoughts to support humanity out of compassion and generosity and wisdom. So may they live long in very good health. Thank you overall, everybody, for participating in this discussion.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you.
Bante.